Segitamu, Ubiak Gindi. Hello, my name is Justine. I am from the Pueblos of Santa Clara and Suzuki Pueblos. I was going to read y'all a speech that I written last year for our March for Pueblo Liberation that we had. But I can't find it, so what are you going to do? So, kundoha everybody for coming out here. Everybody knows why we came here. And we didn't have to pull it down ourselves, but word on the street is that they're only putting it away for safekeeping. Word. Yeah.
They're protecting it! Stop protecting perpetrators!
Yeah, that's right. So instead of reading that, I think I wanted to read a little bit about the Pueblo Revolt, because that's why we're here. That's why Pueblo people exist, because of our resistance. And I want to talk about the Pueblo Revolt today because it's going to be our continued resistance that keeps us alive. This fight isn't over, and there's still Onate statues all across the nation. So this fight isn't over here, and it's not over until we reach decolonization and indigenous liberation. Nothing short of that. So before the conquistadors came to our lands, to Tewa lands, to Pueblo lands, to Turtle Island, to North and South America, there were 92 Pueblo villages in the area of the northern Rio Grande at the time of colonial contact. Today there is only 19. The Pueblo Revolt and everyday Pueblo resistance is the reason Pueblo people are still here, because resistance is traditional and how we've managed to keep our traditions and sacred knowledge. Yet somehow I often see a disconnect between Pueblo people and the politics that shape our entire lives. Much of our existence is perceived to be a political or is depoliticized when it's simply not the case. We live in the webs of colonization, therefore we live in the webs of this political settler atmosphere that we live in. A few facts about the Pueblo Revolt. The Pueblo Revolt took place decades. It took decades to organize in a time when traveling Pueblo to Pueblo on horse was illegal. There's no spontaneity about it. Organizing efforts were spread as far out as eastern Arizona, southern Colorado, eastern New Mexico, and south of Albuquerque, southern New Mexico. These organizing meetings happened under the protection of night and in the mountains. Pueblo, Diné, and Mescalero and Jicarilla Apaches. That solidarity was absolutely vital for this action to happen, and it's going to continue to be vital for future actions to happen. That solidarity is what's going to save us in the future. It doesn't matter that this is only Pueblo lands. The main factor, the mode of Spanish colonization was strictly commercial. The main factors for it happening was obviously brutal colonization, but do you know what that exactly means? It means the division of Pueblo people through the church and cis-heteropatriarchy and appropriation of soldiers into the colonial army. This still happens today. This is still tearing apart our Pueblo communities. This is a version of toxic traditionalism, and what toxic traditionalism is, it's colonial imposed values that is put into our traditions, which then perverts it into something that is not sacred any longer. Cis-heteropatriarchy is not traditional. I can't vote or become a governor or a leader in my own Pueblo. If we are going to survive, we're going to have to get over our toxic traditional values of heteropatriarchy. Same goes for the appropriation of our own people into these settler systems. That's what I say. Pueblo people fought for conquistadors, and Pueblo people today still side with conquistadors. This behavior never stopped. History is made today. History is not something in the past. History is something that we make right here, right now. And it's always a question of what side of history will you be on? Another cause of it, the outlaw Pueblo religion, the execution of medicine people and religious speakers, the implementation of ridiculous colonizer law. Did you know that every person in Acoma Pueblo who had their foot cut off, every single one had legal representation? Settler laws never meant shit, and they never will mean shit. Pueblo enslavement for settler capital resource extraction and for the maintenance of the settlers and their stolen land parcels. Same thing going on today. We're talking about resource extraction. We're talking about the fucking Los Alamos labs. Many Pueblo relatives were sent to Mexico as slaves. How some have hate for our southern relatives is disgusting. We were born to and taken away to where a 21st century colonized ill-informed lens when looking at our own history. It is the colonizers that teach us our own history. I had to leave my own reservation, my own village to learn this. This is a deliberate act. It is up to you to realize the rocks of salt fed to you. I can't help but see every parallel through today. Converted relatives into the church and state army, the oppression of heteropatriarchy, and the continuation of capitalism and the evolution of resource extraction, and even what the evolution of solidarity looks like and need be required. The same things are happening. Colonization was not a one-time thing, and it's a monster that never stopped evolving. The distortion of sovereignty and what freedom even is has us brainwashed into thinking we've achieved our final form, and we fooled ourselves into thinking that we can befriend our colonizers and even that they can befriend us. It's like we think that just because things aren't worse, that they're not bad, or that just because you conform to the settlers' rules, you get to be a little bit more comfortable. But at what and whose expense? I can't help but imagine that my efforts for organizing ongoing resistance and liberation wouldn't be any easier than in the 1600s, and vice versa. Let's always keep in mind that freedom is more than creating individual reservation utopias, and it's not something you can be stingy with. We will not be free unless we were all free. And I mean that. When I say everybody, I mean everybody. I'm talking about the global south. I'm talking about Africans. I'm talking about Palestinians. Their liberation is our liberation. And we outnumber our oppressors tenfold every day. And as many of you may know, during the Pueblo revolts, that knotted cord that you see, the Tewa warriors had a knotted cord with them to untie it every day, counting down to the Pueblo revolts. And that's why we have a knotted cord with us right here. In other words, their days are numbered. And just like that cord, we are a knot in time. It is because of the resistance and the revolt of the ones before us that we are here today. And it will be our efforts of today that will ensure the livelihoods of tomorrow, when the time of that knot comes to be undone. Let us open our eyes to a new vision of a new world, for we cannot continue to live in this one. Let us open our hearts to the truth even when it hurts. And let us maintain the tradition of strength, courage, and tactical wit and effort of the ones before us. And solidarity forever. But again, I'm here with the Red Nation. The Red Nation changed my fucking life because the Red Nation offered me the tools that it took to make sense of my own struggle. I didn't become politically educated through books or through documentaries. I became politically educated through my own struggle and not half-assing my politics. How many times do we have to vote before they stop killing Indians and Africans? How many times are we gonna vote? It's gonna be 1,000 more years before a goddamn thing happens. And that's why I encourage all of you to join an organization, because we need every single person here to get organized. We have to out-organize our oppressors to get what we want. Look what this movement did. What did this movement do?
Yeah.
The movement did that. And when the people move, we get what we want. And that is why it's gonna take a movement within this settler colonial state. We are going to have to literally fight for our own liberations and freedoms, because that is something that they keep from us. By the logic of settler colonialism, indigenous people are not supposed to exist. That is why we live in a hell world. That is why indigenous people live in a hell world. That is why African people live in a hell world. Because the United States was built on top of us. It was built on stolen land by stolen people. And so that's why indigenous and African solidarity is so important. Because we were the things that made this country, and we're going to be the people who tear it down and build something better. And that is why I am a revolutionary socialist. I'm not a fucking liberal. I'm not a fucking Democrat. I'm the baddest bitch that ever lived because I'm a fucking commie. But that is why I urge you to join an organization, because I used to be a heroin addict here in the Espanola Valley. Driving into here, every single spot on the side of the road was somewhere where I got high. And that is the same spots where everybody else gets high today. And those are the same spots where people are devalued because they can't survive in a system that was never built for them in the first place. Join an organization, get politically educated, and organize. We need to out-organize our oppressors every day. Look at that. Those fucking cops right there. Look at them over there. Look how organized they are. It takes a hell of a lot of organization to be a genocidal institution. And that is why we know damn fucking well we are stronger than these fucking chuds. And we outnumber them every fucking day. And so when that time comes, when the statue is, back up, when it's back from safekeeping, I better see all of you back here again. Become a revolutionary socialist. It is the just transition into building a system, into making it something better. And that's all it is. It's not the end game, it's just the start. And we need a hell of a lot of people to make this go. All right, guys, thank you. Kuntawaha.